Hey loves, this is Andrea Michelle, the #1 purpose educator in the world, and you're listening to the Finding Bliss podcast, episode number 90. Today we're going to discuss limiting beliefs around money and value. Let's get into it.
We've all heard how different sciences and religion are, but are they really that different? In Finding Bliss, we'll explore how the rules of attraction really don't change between the two. Andrea Michelle, certified life coach and program creator, will show you how to find the perfect happiness you crave in the midst of chaos. We'll explore how you can create your own happiness and ignore the negative external factors in your life. We're so excited that you're joining with us in our journey to Finding Bliss.
Hey loves, listen, I am so excited to bring to you today Kashira, who is an award-winning serial entrepreneur, brand strategist, and author who specializes in helping ambitious entrepreneurs package their expertise, brand their influence, and monetize their online presence. She is passionate about educating and equipping women with strategies to launch and scale their own businesses. She's also created the hashtag Her Movement in 2013. What began as an online community with more than 30,000 global followers has since expanded to a digital educational hub full of online courses and products, a YouTube channel, and a podcast known as the Bombshell Collective. Kashira launched the Power Collective in 2018 to where the mission is to accelerate the growth of small and mid-sized women-owned businesses to create more economic equality within the U.S. If that does not inspire you and encourage you to keep listening, I don't know what does. Please help me welcome Kashira to the Finding Bliss podcast. Hey, loves. Welcome back to the Finding Bliss podcast. And if you are new around these parts, welcome. I am so very glad that you are here. I'm glad that you decided to hit play. I'm glad you decided to download. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you listening because I personally know that there are so many amazing podcasts that you can be listening to. And so the fact that you chose this one, it really, truly humbles me. And I am so grateful for your presence. So y'all, now that that's out the way, I am so super excited about today's podcast episode. Do you want to know why? I'm just going to tell y'all why because I'm so excited. I'm so excited because I met this woman probably about 6 or 7 months ago. We were we were being coached by the same woman, Amber Aziza, who is like this amazing millionaire coach. And of course, when you enter into a program, you don't know who's who. You kind of meet people, but you feel people's vibe. And so we started feeling each other's vibe. And y'all, this woman is an absolute powerhouse. Like when I want to know what to do about my business or branding, I'll just go right to Instagram, check her stories, and I will look at all of them, even if it's like 20 of them. I'm like, so for her. So I want you guys to welcome Kashira to my podcast. Hey, girl.
Hi. I love that intro. You got me all hype over here. I feel like I'm going to play a championship game.
Girl, so I read your bio to my people. Now, what else do you want to add to that?
I hope you didn't read the whole thing, but...
wait a minute. Y'all know, y'all listen to it. It was so amazing. There was no way I could not read the whole thing, girl.
So I always say, like, I am a creative at heart, and I am a multi-passionate business owner who learned a long time ago the power of feeling the fear and doing it anyway. And I now have this philosophy of like, okay, if I'm not going to die or go to jail, I'll try it, when it comes to projects and ideas and things. And so I just do a little bit of everything, but my core heart is as a business and brand coach. I work with primarily women because that's my heart, on creating what I like to call magnetic messaging, basically helping them stand out online, helping them monetize their genius, and then create consistency with that coin that's coming in. doing. And I've been able to just grow my business through my coaching, through my published books, through courses and membership communities. And then from there, some side projects that kind of became businesses. I have a cosmetics brand called Life of a Bombshell, where my customer there is like my same clients. You know, like I create makeup for women who are on the move, who are on the go, who like they need their makeup to not clock out early. So we have that. And then of course we have the Shift Your Power brand, which I know we'll talk about today, which again, all of these different projects though were birthed out of two things. One, the women that I serve, and then two, my own personal interest. So that's like how I normally just summarize like who I am and what I have going on.
Oh my gosh, I love that. See, I didn't know that your philosophy was, if it's not going to kill me, then I'm going to do it. Because I promise you, that is my philosophy. And on my podcast, I talk about that all the time. Fear is an illusion. Fear is only the absence of love, right? It's like darkness is an illusion. It is only the absence of light. So I love that. So tell me, how did you adopt that philosophy? What happened that made you come to that point?
Girl, when sitting around realizing I missed out on all of the booms, literally being like, if I wasn't so scary when Periscope first launched, I would have hit six figures a long time ago. Or if I wasn't so afraid of being on camera, like I could have been putting out video content. Or if I didn't doubt that people wanted to hear my voice, I could have been launched my blog. And so it took me forever to get past those hurdles. And honestly, like I'm proud of where I am. I'm proud of what I've done. I know that this is all in divine timing. But once you start having what ifs, you don't want to have that feeling again. There is nothing worse than just being like, dang, like, I really wonder what would have happened if I would have started using Periscope 6 months earlier. Or if I would have started, really marketing myself and charging my worth, a year or two earlier, And so once I started to get traction in my business and really see that, hey, what I believe is true. I have value. I can help people. At that point, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do this anymore. I am not going to miss no more trains, no more boats, no more buses. I am on everything that I need to be on to get my message out there. And that's how it happened. Like, I don't want that feeling of regret ever again in life.
Oh my, I'm so glad you said that, because as you were talking, I just thought about regret. And I recently, I think I did a Facebook Live on regret. And, I said that fear, it weighs pounds, right? Like you scared, it can be heavy, but regret weighs a ton. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like regret is so much heavier than fear will ever be. And so it's to our benefit to actually do the things that we fear instead of holding on to the weight of regret. Don't you think?
Girl, yeah, because it's not cute. It doesn't feel good. I'm still trying to shake it off. Like it still every now and then lingers. No, it's not fun. And so I always tell people that I work with, because, I know we're going to talk a lot about limiting beliefs today. But, when it starts to come up around, like, I'm scared of the camera, which is, like, the most common one. And my question is, like, what's the worst that could happen? Right. And they're like, nobody watches. And I'm like, okay, so what happens if nobody watches? And they're like, nothing. And I'm like, great. What happens if you don't actually do what I'm telling you to do? And they're like, nothing. I'm like, well, look, it's an even playing field. It's like, so, like, what are you talking about?
Right. See, that's why you're good at what you do, because, not everybody can point that out. It's, if nobody watches, then what happens? Nothing. Okay, well, if you don't do what I'm telling you to do, what happens? Nothing. Not many people can put that together and make it so simple. Because what I've found is there's so many people who want to appear to be so high level, and they speak using language and terms that nobody really understands, and then they wonder why people don't connect with their message. But of course, you're like the message maven. That's what you do. So of course you can break it down. So before we started this interview, we were talking about your new affirmation cards and journal and all of that. And y'all, I purchased them, so I'm going to tell y'all to go out and get some. And y'all know I'm the affirmation queen, but the way that Kashira set it up and the specific affirmations that she has, I was just so pulled to them. So what made you, I guess I'm going to use the word shift for lack of a better term, but perhaps it's something that's always been there. But what drove you to move from like this whole messaging? Well, it's not that you moved away, but shift from the whole messaging thing to, wait a minute, let me put these affirmations out there. So can you talk about your why behind doing that?
Yeah, so it was always somewhat ingrained in what I was doing, because whenever I get clients, I send them gifts. I have like this like little packet that I put together, and everything is super branded because it's me. And so I have a tote bag that I send them that I have a Black woman make, and it says, never apologize for being ambitious. They get a makeup bag that is black, is beautiful, and on one side it has my logo, the other side says Power Moves, right? And when they graduate, they get a mug, and I wish I had it to show you. We're on the video, obviously, but like there's a gold mug I send them that just says like unapologetically fabulous, and then the other side has my logo on it. And so the reason why I build in these cutesy phrase things is because what I'm helping these women embark on is scary as hell. Like, it's not normal. Entrepreneurship is still not, I know it's like hot topic, but it's really not. Like, actually building a business, going full time, like putting yourself out there, like it's terrifying, especially when you're like most of us who don't come from families of business owners, who didn't have a mentor, who doesn't have a inheritance to fall back on. So it's like, I know that I'm just kind of blowing off the video and all of that, but like I recognize that this is a huge, major thing. So I've always wanted to empower and inspire my clients immediately upon them saying yes. So I wanted to send them really nice stuff that like reminded them that like, hey, you are powerful. You are called. This is your purpose. You do not have to apologize for your dreams, and like go after it, right? So thinking about my clients and how I have so many times I've had to stop coaching calls to now personally coach and say like, let's eliminate this language. Let's shift our perspectives. Let's talk about where this is really coming from. And so I always think about how else can I move them? Can I inspire them? So I taught a lot of them affirmations and how to use them just for self-esteem purposes. So moving forward, I was really, again, on my own personal development journey and really just falling more in love with, to your point, affirmations. And I was telling you earlier, I have so many different types of affirmation cards, yoga cards, cards. I have like oracle cards and all of this stuff, and I love them, but I just couldn't find what I was really looking for. And I wanted a card, like I told you earlier, I need a card that's going to tell me I'm getting clients this week. I need a card that's going to tell me that I'm going to hit $1 million this year. I need a card that's going to remind me. I have a card that says my clients respect my boundaries.
I love that.
I have a card that says I do not need to be accessible 24/7 to be effective.
I love that.
Basically, I needed something to minister to me that I can now pass on to my client. And so I got on Twitter one day, Power of Community. I got on Twitter. This was early January, right after Christmas, and I tweeted, I was like, I really wish there were affirmation cards for entrepreneurs. I've seen one set, but it just didn't do it for me. And so one of my like male friends through Twitter, he's like, first of all, delete this. Secondly, go research it and make it yourself. And I was like, which we talk to each other a little harsh sometimes. It's cool. And I was like, and then like two other people that I don't really know like that side, it was like, we echoed what this person said. So I went ahead and deleted it. And I just started Google searching. Google is my best friend.
Yes.
So I started Google searching, and I typed in like affirmation card manufacturer. And of course, nothing came up because it's not a thing. And most people would give up after that first Google search, but not I, said the catch.
Yes.
What other types of cards exist? And I Googled tarot card manufacturers, and that's when I found the laundry list. So here's the tea for anybody that wants to make cards. Google is your friend. The same people that make playing cards, which y'all use for spades and all of that, they also make tarot cards. They also make playing cards for companies, like branded ones. And there are so many companies. Everybody's like, oh, where'd you get them from? I'm like, you probably don't want the person that I use because I picked the most expensive one because extra. But there are so many options, right? So I'm Googling and I'm like, okay, great. Found a manufacturer. I requested some samples. The company sent me like 5 different types of cards. They sent me playing cards. They sent me tarot cards. They sent me kids reading cards in different sizes and different qualities. Like, they were so responsive. They didn't charge me anything for all of this stuff, right? Okay, cool. So then I reach out to a graphic designer that I know who actually helps with my makeup line, and she only does like websites and photography, but I was like, this is an off-the-cuff project. Tell me no if you want to, but can you design a card for me? I need a back and I need a blank front where I can put the text. She was like, $40. I was about to pay that before she finished typing it. Then I have another friend who is an author, and she designs book covers as well as she designs journals. She texted me same day and was like, hey, I'm looking for some portfolio work. Can I make a journal for you up to 120 pages at no cost in exchange for documenting the process and the review?
Wait, okay, I got to stop you.
This is how God works out, because I was looking for a reason to not do this.
Yes!
I was ready to put these affirmations on a piece of paper and mail it to people and just be like, here, clients, have this. But everything lined up. And the person who did the journal actually made a mood board for me. Cause like, I'm kind of weird when it comes to design people, cause I don't really know what I want, but I do. So I was like, I need something that's mystical and unicornish, but not too Disney princess, but not too Wicked West Side, but like right in the middle that screams like possibility. And like, that's literally what I said. And so she created like this really nice mood board with the color scheme, and I gave it to the designer. The designer took the mood board, made the cards that you all see today. Homegirl hooked up the journal. We only made like 2 revisions to the journal outline or how it looked. I wrote all of the affirmations, 100 affirmations in one sitting, probably 20 minutes. And that was that. So that's where the project came from.
Oh, see, okay, so this is what I want my listeners to understand, because Kashira, this is exactly what I tell people. When you have a desire to do something, the universe, and I say universe, God, Holy Spirit, to me, it means the same, because, people can use their own language.
Right.
But, when you put something out there, the universe conspires to support you in all of your endeavors. So all you had to do was have the desire to do it. Even though on low key you were kind of like, I don't feel like doing it. But the thing is, your intention for doing it was higher than your intentions for not doing it, because you had a reason that was bigger than yourself. You needed something for yourself, but you also know that you needed to keep your clients inspired. And so if it were just for you, you probably would have just simply said, you know what, it's too much work, I'm not going to do it. And that's another thing, Kashira. People think that just because they have to do a little bit of work, a little bit of digging, like you said, you Googled it, you couldn't find nothing. You were like, well, what else? And then all these things. So then you have to, order the cards and all of this. Some people think because they have to do a little bit of work that, it must not be meant to be. But your story just proves that when you put the intention out there, that God will truly align everything and it will work out in your favor.
Yes, and let me also clarify and put the fine print out there that this was not a seamless process as the story sounds. There's definitely troubleshooting along the way, from the manufacturer waiting until I had all 53 cards in his deck designed to tell me that they was the wrong size. And I was like, what you mean? I want I forget what the dimensions are, but I want these dimensions. They was like, well, you have to make the design bigger because of how we cut it. And I was like, y'all should have told me that. But and I told him, I was like, that would have been great to know early on when y'all had me putting in requests for quotes, right? Luckily, the assistant I had at the time volunteered to help me with this in Photoshop, so she took that project on. And it was other little things that I was really frustrated with it, and I just felt too, the nervousness of a new project that for me, it feels outside of the scope. Obviously talking about the purpose of it. If I'm getting this made for client gifts, that's one thing. But this was something that was meant to be sold externally. It was already just kind of giving me anxiety. And so what I want to suggest too is that when you hit these roadblocks and these boulders that appear out of nowhere, it's this is now your chance to flourish or fail.
Yes. You can say that again. I love that. Say that again. That was good.
Yeah. This is your chance to flourish or fail. And so many people miss out on their victory because it's around this boulder that all you had to do, in my case, was just sit there and wait a second. You didn't have to do anything drastic. I didn't have to spend any extra money. It was just this is an obstacle, right? And raising my hand to my team and saying, I'm frustrated with this thing. This is what happened. Allowed someone else to say, hey, let me give you a lift. Let me help shift this thing out of the way. And then here we go. So that's something that I always tell people, please don't, I know that when you're looking on Instagram and you're looking on Facebook, it looked seamless. It looked easy. It looked purely she just woke up one day and just birthed this thing and it was good. But
Yeah.
But one more thing with this story before we go on, then how something else that aligned, a company reached out to me who is an e-commerce platform. So for those who like aren't business owners, e-commerce platforms are like websites you use to sell stuff like Shopify or Squarespace or Wix. Okay. So they're like a relatively new company, but you can sell through them. They connect to PayPal and Apple Pay and all of these things. And they reached out and was like, hey, we'd love for you to be an influencer for our brand. We're still working out the details of like what our budgets are, but if you're willing to give us a shot, we'll allow you to use our software for free in the meantime to see how you feel. They gave me their most expensive package. They have a free version and like they gave me the most expensive package. I was able to get set up on this because my current website is not an e-commerce site. My current website is the cheapest Squarespace plan because I'm a coach. I don't need all that. All I need is to book a calendar and my cute pictures and we good to go. They were like, hey, by the way, with our type of platform, you can embed your store into an existing website. So you don't even have to rebuild, like you don't have to build anything from scratch. So I was able to take a website that I already branded, and just embed this store and pay no extra fees to sell this stuff. And I was like, okay, more and more signs. So again, paying attention to the good things that are happening versus the bad things that are happening also will help just kind of keep you focused.
Yes. No, you know what? I love that because one of the things that I always say is that you have to practice gratitude. Gratitude is so extremely important when it comes to manifesting and creating and really truly shifting where you are, because a lot of my clients, they're working jobs that they don't necessarily like. And so they come to me because they're like, I want to make this change. Some of them want to, shift into entrepreneurship because I came from corporate, and you too. And I want to ask you about that. Yeah. And then, started entrepreneurship, and they're like, you know what? And I just hate my job now. And I'm like, well, because I tell them, give gratitude for your job. And they're like, well, I hate my job. Well, you know what? If you can't give gratitude for your job, then give gratitude for the fact that your job is allowing you to pay your mortgage. Give gratitude for the fact that your job is allowing you to pay your car note, pay your insurance, to put groceries on your table. If you can't give gratitude specifically for the job, then give gratitude for what the job can provide for you. And Kashira, 9 times out of 10, when they make that shift from trying to be fake and say, oh, I love my job, to I'm grateful that this job provides me with X, Y, Z, it changes their whole outlook. And most of them end up getting promoted because it changes their attitude and it changes everything and the way that they're looking at it. So you are so right about that.
I love that. You just preached a whole Sunday morning sermon. I'm here for it, though. You telling the truth. The 100% truth, because Lord knows I had to do everything in my power to stay optimistic in that job.
So let's talk about that, because my listeners know that I retired from a successful 6-figure corporate career, and I actually retired from the corporate career before I hit 6 figures in my business. But that's only because I felt compelled to leave. My logical left brain was kind of like, you better not go nowhere, girl.
Right.
But my heart was saying, Andrea, but women need you. And so I decided to take the leap. And thankfully, my husband and I were set up where we were good. But you went about it the other way, because your entrepreneurship, your business was like already like banking in 6 figures with a 6-figure career. So talk about that. And while you're talking about that, talk about some of the limiting beliefs that you had to overcome in that process.
Girl, so I love that, because you're just so sophisticated. You're like, I retired. I'm like, no, I quit. I'm out. Okay. I told my mom after I left, I'm like, I'm Tommy off of Martin. I ain't got no job. Okay. Don't nobody know where I work or where I be. Don't tell nobody nothing for a long time. That was me, right? But okay. So
I love you, girl.
For real. I was Tommy with no job. And it's funny because I still play with people to this day when I go to the nail shop in the middle of the day. They're like, so what are you doing? I'm like, I don't got no job. And they're like, what?
I love
I don't look at it like a job. I just, whatever.
Right,
so
right.
My career started in HR, human resources. I was working at a big bank, and I was doing training and development, D&I, which is why I really obsessed with you when we were on our call, because I'm like, yes, she is what I thought I was going to be in corporate, but they played me. So I moved on to higher ed, and I was the assistant director of the Career Center for a graduate level MBA program at a top 50 ranked MBA school. And so I actually counsel, in particular, marketing students, consumer insight students. Marketing has always been my interest or whatever else. And so I was in this space where I wanted to climb the corporate ladder. I wanted to be a diversity officer. I loved wearing my little suits. I couldn't wait for my mama to buy me an express suit when I was in college, for my little internship. I used to intern everywhere. I was here for it, but I kept getting into these positions where I would experience microaggressions, and I had black women being mean to me and white women yelling at me and people being threatened because I'm so creative and blah, 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 and I'm too well networked, it was just so many different things. I'm like, something got to give. I got to figure it out. So the business started to take off as I was building my brand. I am single. I live by myself. My family is 600 miles away, and I like to buy hair. So I can't be out here, bald head with a dream. I can't. So I wanted to.
Oh my gosh, girl, this is too good.
So I wanted to grow my business. So my personal commitment to myself was I wanted my business to gross $100,000 in one calendar year before I would leave. That was my goal. Mm-hmm. And what made that goal hard was everybody around me being like, oh, you should just leave. You should just do this. It was people kind of clouding my judgment because it's easy to just say you should do this. Let's keep it 100. If something went wrong, are you going to pay a bill? Right. You have a couch I can sleep on. Honey, I don't have time for humans to be disappointing me. So I'm like, no, I need my business to be viable and sustainable before I leave. That was my thing. So I worked hard. So that meant evenings, weekends, and mornings. That meant I missed out on brunch. I missed out on happy hour. Somehow I managed to have a boyfriend the whole time. I don't know. He's a business owner too, and he works crazier hours than me, so it worked out. But I grinded. I used my vacation days for conferences and speaking engagements. Wow. I didn't go on vacation. I didn't have time to go and do all of these different things, so I really just hustled it. So to your point, the core limiting belief that there was two that I had to really overcome. The first was about money. And then the second was just about personal value. And so starting with the money, I started to recognize that I had money mindset issues 2 years before I quit because I was booked and busy. I had all these clients, all these speaking engagements, but the money wasn't adding up. And I was just like, okay, I need to make an investment in a coach. At that point, I was so scared. I didn't want to invest in a coach because no one had ever taught me the value of investing in yourself. Obviously we go to college and we get into all this debt, but we ain't gonna talk about that. Girl. But to hear prices $497 and $997, that's rent. And I couldn't wrap my head around rent. I couldn't do it at that point in life. So I get it, right? So I finally was like, okay, I need to make a change. I need to make a shift. So I made my first investment at $500 in a coach. I hired somebody that was the same age as me, but was killing it. She was already making $200K. She was an engineer by trade, but she's a business coach now. She was sales. And I remember beginning with her. The program was okay. It kind of gave me it taught me basically how to better create my services, structure them so that I wouldn't be so run down. Then she was like, you need to be in the next level up program to learn how to sell. She's like, I'll credit you what you paid for this to be the next one because I feel like you're in the wrong program, right? So, okay, so the next, I think I paid her $800 for the next thing. And went through the program, and I'm very active. I'm very engaged. I'm doing all my little work. And one day she got frustrated with me. And she's like, you're doing your homework right. You're doing all of these assignments. You're doing everything right. She's like, the problem is you are in the way. You are the reason why you aren't where you want to be. You don't even really need me. You just need to move. And I was like, well, what are you saying? She's like, you don't see nothing wrong with what you turned in. And I'm like, you just said it was perfect. She's like, yeah, except for the price. And she's like, look at how much work you're doing for pennies. It was serious. It was $100 a month for 4 or 5 calls. It was a lot. It was I was doing a lot for nothing. And I don't know what you're talking about. So then I said, okay, I'm coachable. I will take the tough feedback. And I'm originally from Chicago and this girl from Detroit. So I can handle whatever you got for me. Okay. I'm prepared. So I was like, okay, so you want me to charge $500? And she was like, try $2,000.
Right.
I was like, I don't even have $2,000. And she was like, you're projecting. She's like, you're projecting your own limiting beliefs and your own circumstances onto your clients who are ready and willing, but you're not talking to them yet. Mm-hmm. She's like, and think about why you have so many followers and why you feel like you're struggling to sell. She's like, it's not you and it's not the service, it's the pricing. It sounds too good to be true. Yeah. Yeah. It sounds, for the value that you're offering and the price you're selling it at, it sounds too good to be true. Wow. And that's when I realized I had to get my life together. Yeah. So I started to think. I did a lot of money affirmations. I did a lot of journaling. I had to really think about it because it's like I didn't have a bad childhood. I didn't, obviously we was a middle class family. We didn't have it like that. But like I didn't starve. I wasn't on, unfortunately I didn't have free lunch. I wish I did. But like, so it's like I don't understand. But even then it's like thinking about there's just like certain little things that happen in childhood and in life that impact you and you don't even realize it, right? Yeah. Like even just thinking about some of the things that might have been said around you from either family or friends around money not growing on trees and X, Y, and Z, like those things and how that influences your mind and your perspective. Yeah. And so realizing it was the first step. Yeah. Actively taking action was the next one. And affirmations are really powerful because I had to say my price to myself every day.
Wow.
Like every day I had to say the cost of my services used to be called like bombshell everything. So like the cost of the bombshell experience is $2,000. Wow. And I had to say it every day. I was being Mary Jane up in here with my Post-it notes and everything else. I was talking to my little boo about it. He was like, well, yes, I agree. I think it's time, And so that was the first major thing I had to overcome.
You know what? Let me, cause about the whole money mindset thing. And I think it's important to just stop there because, I often tell people that when it comes to like investing in yourself or whatever, it is never about the money because you're saying that you had like a middle class lifestyle. You didn't even have free lunch, girl. So y'all was like upper middle class. If you didn't have free lunch, you came
from the post office. If you work at the post office, they think you're rich. So
my grandmother retired from the post office and he took my mother and her 3 siblings all across the world. Like my mother's trip for her 17th birthday was to Hawaii. So y'all had money. But I, on the other hand, I grew up extremely poor. We had the free lunch. My mother had food stamps. Back then it was actual paper. I think it's on a card now. But so I grew up extremely poor and I too had to work on my own money mindset. And so this just proves the point that when it comes to the work that you have to do around money mindset, that it really has nothing to do with the money itself, but a belief that you have about the money. So I just wanted to point that out, and I'm so glad you said that.
For a lot of us, we just think about money. We don't look at money as a tool. We look at it as a resource.
Yes.
It's literally just there to provide us shelter and every now and then entertainment versus looking at it as a resource that can now get you in exchange, right? Get you goods, services, knowledge, experiences. And so by even shifting around like my perception that me sowing this seed is now going to reap so much more, like I needed that mental click of me actually doing it and me actually seeing the change for myself to recognize that now my clients need this. Because present day, now I have clients who show up differently, who behave differently, and who are willing to be more coachable because they now have more skin in the game, right? Versus when you were just throwing play money at me, it's like, I'll pay you when I show up to a coach's call. I'll pay you when I do my homework, right? Yep. And so now really thinking about sometimes it really takes you actually doing the thing, break down, or at least start the process of kind of breaking down what's going on. And like that was like a huge, like to this day, I always tell this girl, like, if you ever need anything from me, I promise you. That some coaches like aren't going to be that honest with you.
That's true.
Some coaches have a curriculum. And have a place in the curriculum. Like not every coach, which is why I love working with Black women in particular. Not every coach is going to sit down and say, you have everything that you need. You don't need to find anything else from you. You need to get out of your own way, see your own value. Like, but there's something different about Black women. Yes. We will tell us the truth and we don't worry about hurting your feelings. Like you'll get over it. You'll get it when you get home.
You are so right. And you know what's interesting is that, because like my clients are like white and black and all of that. And I do have that attitude where I tell them, like, you know, during a coaching session and they have an aha moment, they're like, oh my gosh, thank you. I'm like, well, you actually came up with the answer. I just asked the right question. That is all on you. And so people do, you are so right. People do appreciate when you are straight up with them and you're not sugarcoating it. And that actually is one of the things that I love about you, because you show up and you really truly do show up as yourself. And again, that's one of the things that I love, respect, and appreciate about you.
I'm going to always be from the West Side. Even in Forbes, I am still... And my family is from Cabrini, so.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
and what's funny, I used to spend my summers in Cabrini as a kid because my dad's side of the family, like a lot of them still live down there, like in the row house area. Girl.
See, I grew up I was born in Chicago, but I only spent the first 5 years there, and we lived in the Robert Taylor projects. That was on
Girl.
It's
like, oh, y'all can fight.
Girl, I love it. And here's what's funny though. You know, this is so perfect because here we are, two black women who basically raised by the projects, if you will, because even though we moved to Wisconsin, we still went back to Chicago, and actually most of my family is still there. But yet we thrive in corporate. We're thriving in our businesses, and we're not letting this whole stigma of being black. We're not letting systemic racism. We're not letting institutional racism. Although those things are real, because trust me, girl, when I was in corporate, I had this one woman tell me, I worked at a publicly traded company. It was huge. I had this one woman look at me. It was a white woman, and she was like, are you sure you're in the right place? Girl, this was like 2013, and she looking at me, asking me if I'm sure, because I was one of two black corporate accountants at this place. But she asked me if I was sure I was in the right place. I said, are you sure you're in the right place?
Right. The devil.
So I've experienced it, but we didn't let that limit us, limit our power. And the most important thing, I think, is that we worked through it. So now let's talk about this second limiting belief you had, girl.
So then the second one, when I say like personal value, like it wasn't like, and I need to find a better word, but it wasn't like a self-esteem thing, but it was just like, I had to accept the fact that one, I could help people, and two, they wanted it. And that was an epiphany I had to have because of my experience in corporate and in education. When I was in higher ed, for the most part, I was significantly younger than everyone, but maybe like 7 or 8 years. I was the only black woman. You know, I was the only creative, and, you know, I just kind of always was made to feel like I didn't fit and I didn't belong. And then, of course, if you've ever been to business school, you know how sometimes the kids are, and I have an MBA, so I know. So then it's like they only want to work with the advisor that's been there the longest because of their perception. And then it's like, then I have, it was like a lot that kind of like weighed on me that I don't even think I even thought about at the time, but like it just impacted my own, like, you know, when I get online, like, are people going to think I'm too young? Are they going to think that I'm too naive? Are they going to think that I'm not qualified? Are they going to, you know, then on the entrepreneur side, then there's business owners that I would meet that would say, well, you know, I will take people seriously who aren't full-time in their business and this and that. Like, it was all these little aggressions, right?
Wow.
So I had to really just shift my own thinking and say, well, first of all, I didn't give myself these gifts. These were given to me from above. And if I was given these gifts from above, then a way will be made.
Yes.
And a way was made.
Yes.
And whenever I had those moments of feeling just inadequate, I just went to my testimonials. Wow. I would read all my testimonials. I have a folder in my inbox that I still have from when I was just a blogger up until now. People who would just write me emails and say, thank you for this, or your content helped me, or you helped me get through. And even down to personal stuff, I'm like, I didn't even know I could help people with that, but okay, right? And so, you know, I kept that as that reminder to say, like, you've had all of this impact. None of these aren't a fluke. This was not one-time things, right? Because when you think about going full time, so this thing has to be sustainable. It has to continue on. It has to grow and expand. And so when you are battling thinking that you're a one-trick pony, it's like you have that anxiety and that fear around it. And so just honestly, my own practice of just revisiting all of the praise and the feedback and looking at how my clients are doing, you know, at that point, how they were doing. Now it's like, that's what helped me to just get over that. And I always tell my clients, I'm like, you have to just get over yourself. Like, once you recognize that it's not about you and accept that it's not about you, recognize that your voice, your actions, your products are literally meant to move others, and you make everything user-centric, it becomes easier to push forward. The ego gets eliminated.
Preach, girl. You're preaching now. See, I'm so glad we did this because we have so much in common.
Yes.
That, too, was one of the things that I had to work through, because being the only Black leader in corporate, you start to think that, was I really cut out for this? You know, am I in the right place? Because, you know, they kind of look at some of the things that you do, kind of like, now, did you run those? Because I was a corporate accountant. Now, did you run that, 3 times? After when I left, they knew they could trust my numbers. But, you know, when I first started, it's like, now, did you run that 2 or 3 times? Yes, I've ran it 10 times. So it was like always having to double, triple check my work and make sure my analysis was just like always on point. And so that when they looked at it, they're like, yeah. And by the time I left, actually, when I left, one of the partners actually said to me, you were the best hire that my boss, that she has ever made. And she worked at the company for 30 years. So she hired a lot of people. And he said, you were the best hire that she ever made. So when I retired, using that word again, so when I retired from corporate, I had this feeling, it's like, well, okay, first I was an accountant. Now I'm talking about I'm a coach. So are they even going to listen to me? And it wasn't until I had this coffee date with this woman in Milwaukee who is like a power mover in the city of Milwaukee. And I was telling her, I'm really feeling pulled to just work with leaders. But part of me is kind of like, I need to work with the little people, you know, because again, not understanding my own worth and the experience that I can bring to the table. And she looked at me and she said, Andrea, it's okay for you to embrace your calling and accept the fact that you work with leaders, because understand this, when you work with leaders, the oil is going to flow down. And so the impact that you have on the leaders, it's going to trickle down to their employees and everybody they work with. And Kashira, when she said that, I literally started bawling because it freed me from, because at first I was like, well, who do I think I am working with leaders and da-da-da. And the minute, Kashira, I like accepted the fact that, okay, I really am called to work with high-powered women. Like, that's who I am. The minute I stepped into that role, that's when I had like major leaders reaching out to me that wanted to work with me. And it was so validating. Like, you know, you shrink so much. That's what I was doing. I was shrinking, right? Because I didn't know my own value. And because I had been pushed down for so long, I felt inferior.
Yeah. I tell my clients whenever they say, well, you know, I know that they have a different call, and they're like, I got to work with people who are just like me, you know, because, and I'm like, that's a shell that you're hiding behind.
Yes.
That's your comfort zone.
Yes.
That's where it feels safe to play.
Yes.
But that's not necessarily where you were called to play.
Yes.
So help me understand. Like, and that's literally where we go from there. I'm like, help me understand.
Man, that is so good, because we really are doing a disservice to the people who we're supposed to serve when we don't walk in our gifting. You know what I mean? Like, when we don't walk in our calling, not only are we doing a disservice to ourselves, but it's a disservice to the people whom, because I personally believe that all of us have a gift, and I believe that there are assigned people that we are supposed to impact in one way or the other. And when we don't show up as ourselves, then it's a disservice to them. I guess there's really no other way to think about it.
Yeah, no, you're right on the money. And there's other people who I'll work with, and I don't know if you see this a lot in your space, but in my space, there's this fear of getting super niches, and I'm only working with the high-powered executives, blah, 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 because, I'm going to be missing out if I don't cast my net wide or something. And I'm like, well, that's that scarcity mindset again. That's you looking at income as some limited offering versus it being a tool, being a resource, being something that's just a part of a natural exchange, right? And again, we have to eliminate this fear of just not being enough and not having enough and not being seen enough, and recognize that the clearer your messaging, the clearer your niche, which the answers are already within, because you know what your calling is. You done woke up a couple times in the middle of the night. You done had the same daydream. We both know what it is. Whoever this message is for that's listening, don't be rolling your eyes. I see. Yes. So, you know what that is. And you have to, you thinking that walking in that is playing small is literally the anti of what you should be doing.
Yes.
Trust that gut feeling that you have.
Yes. Yeah, I tell people that, at least this has been my experience, and as I work with other people, it's been their experience too, that your intuition is 100% right. Now, where we get it wrong is when we allow the external influences to come in, and then it sways our position on things. But when we get that gut feeling, something in us tells us, yes, that's right. But then the minute we kind of share with somebody or whatever, and they kind of give us a look, we're like, oh, well, maybe that's not it. But what I have learned is 99% of the time I have followed my intuition. And that's only because I was blessed enough at the age of 12 to learn what my intuition was. And then when I was 14, I had this really strong feeling and I didn't follow it, and I got jumped by like 10 girls. Girl, I did a whole podcast episode on that. And from that point on, I was like, whenever I get this feeling, I'm going to listen to it. And there have been so many times, Kashira, where my intuition has told me to do something, and I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Why would I do that? But it's like, just do it. And it has always worked out for my good. So I am in agreement with you that gut feeling that you have to follow that.
Yes, girl. And it doesn't always feel good either.
Mm-mm.
That's another thing I always tell people, I'm sorry that, we have really nice gold staplers or Instagram pictures and perfectly posed Starbucks cups that make this seem like it's so fun. But sometimes going after your goals is mad uncomfortable. It is scary. And sometimes it requires you to elevate faster than planned. And so I don't want you to think that this gut feeling around what you should be doing is supposed to feel good. Sometimes it's going to make you nervous. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's going to make you feel like, how am I going to get the money for this? How am I going to get the resources for this? The first step is acceptance. Once you accept and start putting that initial work in, as with my story, the pieces start to fall. Stars start to align. Things start to happen. But it's just recognizing, again, it's not going to feel good all the time.
Right. Oh, my gosh. I love that. I love that. And so this has been an amazing conversation. And we knew before we started this interview that this time was going to go by so fast, and it was going to be such an amazing and enlightening conversation. And so I really want my listeners to understand and just really go back and re-listen to some of the things that Kashira said. She had this idea. She had this intention to help not just herself, but to help other people. And the minute that intention became much bigger than her fear, everything started to align for her. And it's not just that it was smooth because she shared that process, but and that's the other thing about alignment. Alignment is effortless. Alignment is not necessarily like a smooth process. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean like it's going to spread like butter on the bread. It just means that people, in your case, people reached out to you. They gave you stuff for free, and, they did all of these things. But when you are in alignment and your intention and your purpose for doing something is greater than you, then everything will get into alignment. And I also want them to just understand that you see these successful people out here on Instagram, Facebook, in the world, on TV, Jeff Bezos, and all these people. But the thing that makes these people successful is that they were willing to accept, like you said, Kashira, their limiting beliefs and deal with them one by one. Would you agree with that?
100% agree. Where's the collection plate?
So Bliss Tribe, listening to, I think somebody else took Bliss Tribe. So, but whatever. y'all listening to this, but understand that your life is going to be whatever you make it. You really are the creator of your own reality. And the only thing that you have to do is, number one, be 100% responsible, like you heard Kashira say, and then accept wherever you are and then deal with them. And once you do that, things will begin to open for you. So Kashira, you said a lot of good stuff. If there was one thing that you wanted the people to walk away from this interview with, what would that be?
So the one thing I would tell you to walk away with is feel the fear and do it anyway.
Mic drop. I love that. Kashira, thank you so much for agreeing to this interview. And I have to be honest, I was nervous asking you. I don't know why. Anytime I ask, so here's my thing. I always go after powerful people who I see that are movers and shakers. I always go after them. That's who I am. And so anytime I ask them for things like to, be a guest on my podcast, I get all nervous. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's going to be like, I ain't going on that girl podcast. No.
No, I love it. I'm always down to be on people's podcasts. Like I feel like, because I appreciate the perspectives that both parties tend to bring. Like I did an interview recently where there was two hosts, it was like co-hosts, and this was the first time I did a show where they were like, oh, let's talk about a hot topic, and I'm like, a hot topic? What? And it was like something like, current events, and I'm like, oh, this is cool, because in my world, I don't get to talk about, coronavirus on my live stream, but I can tell y'all about my conspiracy theory now. So it's fun, like I'm always down.
Yeah, no, it's great. So but I really do appreciate you taking the time to do this. And I have mad respect for you. And so I can get my bundle, my Affirmation Bundle. And so y'all, if you are not following her, are you just at Kashira on Instagram? At Kashira, okay. So we'll put all that in the show notes so that they can follow you on Instagram. And for nothing else, even if your intention is not necessarily to start a business or whatever, for nothing else but to be inspired by someone who has been able to have these limiting beliefs, overcome them, and just really, truly be someone who is great in this world, who is leaving a legacy. And so, Kashira, thank you so much for your time.
No, thank you. This was awesome. And like I said, you know where to find me if you need me.
I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the podcast and the podcast in general. It would be such a great honor if you would subscribe and review it for me. And if you've enjoyed it that much, I hope you'd share it with your friends. I'm looking forward to us journeying together to find our bliss. Would you like to build your confidence and, more importantly, empower yourself? If so, then I'd like to invite you to download my 23 affirmations to build confidence and empower yourself. These were beautifully created so that you can print them out, hang them in your office, home office, bathroom, or wherever you need to see them on a daily basis to build your confidence and empower yourself. Please download them today. Are you a leader who's ready to discover your purpose and your passion, find balance, reconnect with, and find your identity so that you can create more happiness, fall in love with yourself, make more money, and live an abundant life? If that is you, then I would love for you to join my brand new Facebook group called the Confident Women's Collective. In this group, the one thing that we realize is that we are a force of one, but a movement collectively. So if you are ready to discover who you really are, stand in your power, walk in your purpose so you can experience more love and happiness, then I would love for you to join the Confident Women's Collective.